You think you know the creature from the Black Lagoon? From two different actors playing the same creature to a 3D gimmick that changed cinema forever, this legendary film was built on 15 incredible accidents and secrets. Number 1, Millicent Patrick was the real artist behind the creature's look. She was one of the few women working in Hollywood's makeup department in the 1950s, and her design was pure genius. Part fish, part human. Completely terrifying. But Universal's head of makeup, Bud Westmore, couldn't stand that a woman had created their next big monster. He was notorious for his ego and his need to control every aspect of Universal's makeup department, so he systematically erased her name from the credits and took all the glory for himself. Westmore made sure Patrick's contributions were buried in paperwork and forgotten by studio executives. For over 50 years, Patrick's groundbreaking work went completely unrecognized. Film historians only started giving her proper credit in the 2000s when researchers dug through old studio archives and found evidence of her original designs. It's one of Hollywood's most shameful cover-ups, and it almost buried the truth about who really created this legend.
Demon, eh? Well, that's no more far-fetched than your Gill-Men.
There are many strange legends in the Amazon. Even I, Lucas, have heard the legend of a man-fish.
Number 2. Director Jack Arnold made a creative choice that changed monster movies forever, though he probably didn't realize it at the time. Instead of creating another straightforward creature feature about a beast terrorizing humans, Arnold filmed something closer to a tragic love story. Think about it. When was the last time you watched a monster movie where you actually felt sorry for the creature? That's exactly what Arnold pulled off here, and it wasn't even intentional. The Gill-Man doesn't just attack Kay Lawrence, he's fascinated by her, drawn to her grace and beauty in a way that suggests both intelligence and longing. Those underwater stalking scenes play out like a dark ballet, the creature mirroring her movements as if trying to understand her. Of course, not everyone sees it that way. Some argue the creature was simply predatory, an animal acting on instinct, not emotion. That tension is what makes the movie so fascinating. Arnold's direction leaves it open to interpretation. Is the creature a monster trying to possess, or a lonely being trying to connect? Maybe it's both. Either way, that ambiguity changed how we see movie monsters forever. Drop a comment if you picked up on those romantic vibes the first time you watched it. Some people miss this layer. Number 3. Here's something that fooled audiences for decades. There wasn't one creature from the Black Lagoon. There were two completely different performers bringing this monster to life. Ben Chapman played the creature during all the land sequences, stomping around the jungle sets and terrorizing the scientific expedition members at their camp. Chapman was a tall, imposing actor who brought genuine menace to the role through his physicality and presence. But the moment that creature hit the water, it became an entirely different person. Rico Browning, a professional swimmer and diving instructor from Florida. This wasn't just a simple stunt double situation where one guy did the dangerous stuff. These were two completely different performance styles and approaches that somehow created one seamless, believable monster. Chapman brought the raw, primal menace and physical intimidation during the land-based scenes. His background in theater gave him the ability to convey emotion and intent through body language alone, even while wearing that restrictive costume. Browning brought something completely different, an otherworldly grace and fluid movement that made the creature seem genuinely at home in its aquatic environment. The switch between performers was so smooth and well-coordinated that most audiences never noticed they were watching two different actors bring the same creature to life throughout the film. Number 4. Rico Browning wasn't just any swimmer they grabbed off the beach. He was basically an aquatic athlete who transformed monster performance into a legitimate art form. This guy could hold his breath for extended periods while wearing a heavy restrictive rubber suit and still make the creature look like it had evolved specifically for underwater life. Browning had trained extensively as both a competitive swimmer and a professional diving instructor. But his real skill was understanding how to move underwater in ways that looked both natural and menacing. He spent countless hours studying fish movement, watching how different aquatic creatures propelled themselves through water with efficiency and grace. Every underwater shot of the creature gliding effortlessly through the lagoon was essentially Browning performing an elaborate underwater ballet while encased in 40 pounds of rubber costume. He had to coordinate his breathing, his movement, his positioning relative to the cameras, and his interaction with other actors, all while maintaining the illusion that this was a genuine sea creature in its natural habitat. The result was something that looked genuinely otherworldly and beautiful, like audiences were witnessing a creature that had evolved over millions of years specifically for life beneath the surface of remote lagoons.
Hey! You got it! You got it! No, don't shoot! Don't shoot! You might hit Kay!
Number 5. Universal spent $15,000 on that creature suit in 1954. And to put that in proper perspective, that's equivalent to spending over $150,000 today on a single movie costume. This wasn't just expensive. It was a massive financial gamble that could have ended Universal's monster movie legacy forever. The studio was betting their entire future in the horror genre on whether audiences would buy into this elaborate rubber suit. Universal had already watched their classic monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman losing popularity throughout the late 1940s and early 1950s. Audiences were getting tired of the same old gothic horror tropes, and the studio desperately needed something fresh that would capture imaginations the way those legendary monsters had during their golden age. That $15,000 investment was basically Universal's executives saying, "This suit better be absolutely perfect, because if audiences don't believe in this creature, we're probably done making monster movies forever." The pressure was enormous because this wasn't just another B-movie project. This was their attempt to create the next iconic movie monster. Number 6. The whole concept started at the most unlikely place: a casual dinner party during the filming of Citizen Kane in 1940. Producer William Alland was socializing with the cast and crew when Gabriel Figueroa, a renowned Mexican cinematographer, started telling fascinating stories about ancient local legends from his homeland. Figueroa described creatures from the Amazon rainforest, mysterious half-fish, half-human beings that supposedly lived in the deepest, most remote lagoons where no explorers had ever ventured. These weren't just scary monster stories. They were part of genuine indigenous folklore that had been passed down through generations of people living along the Amazon River. Most people at that party would have forgotten the conversation by the next morning, dismissing it as interesting but irrelevant Hollywood small talk. But Allen was completely fascinated by the concept and couldn't stop thinking about it for years afterward. He kept imagining what one of these legendary creatures might actually look like, how it would move both on land and underwater, and what would happen if modern scientific explorers actually discovered one in some hidden corner of the world. That casual dinner conversation became the seed that grew into one of cinema's most memorable and enduring monsters, proving that inspiration can come from the most unexpected sources. The creature's design was brilliant, but Universal still had to figure out how to actually film this thing effectively. That's where the real technical accidents started happening, and they turned out to be some of the best creative decisions anyone made during the entire production. Number 7. The original script for Creature from the Black Lagoon had absolutely nothing to do with 3D technology. Universal was initially planning a standard black and white monster movie, probably destined for drive-in theaters and second-run movie houses. But then Hollywood went absolutely crazy for 3D technology in the early 1950s, with studios desperately experimenting with any gimmick that might differentiate their films from television programming. Studio executives were genuinely panicking about television stealing their audiences, so they needed spectacular visual experiences that people couldn't get at home. Universal made a completely last-minute decision to shoot their creature feature in full 3D. Not because of some grand artistic vision, but because of pure marketing panic and fear of losing ticket sales. They figured the 3D novelty might help sell tickets to what they honestly expected would be another forgettable B-movie that would disappear from theaters within a few weeks. Instead, that panicked decision created something genuinely incredible and revolutionary. The 3D cameras captured the underwater world in ways that made audiences feel like they were actually swimming alongside the monster, creating an immersive experience that was unprecedented in monster movies. Number 8. That famous swimming scene where the creature mirrors Julie Adams from below became one of cinema's most haunting and memorable sequences, but filming it was an absolute coordination nightmare that pushed everyone involved to their limits. Adams had to maintain perfect swimming speed and rhythm at the surface, while Rico Browning, wearing that heavy suit underwater, matched her movements stroke for stroke from below. The 3D cameras needed precise positioning to capture both swimmers in the same frame without breaking the illusion of the creature stalking its prey. One wrong timing, one missed cue, one camera angle slightly off, and the whole sequence would collapse into obvious fakery. They rehearsed for hours to nail the choreography, camera angles, and underwater lighting simultaneously. The result was pure movie magic, a moment that captured the creature's obsession and the woman's vulnerability without either character speaking a single word.
No, no more. Let him go.
Number 9. Now we get to that stumbling walk I promised you'd hear about. Ben Chapman literally couldn't see where he was going through the creature's mask. The eye holes were tiny slits that gave him almost zero peripheral vision, and the bulky headpiece made it impossible to look down at his feet or judge distances accurately. So Chapman spent his land scenes bumping into trees, tripping over camera cables, stumbling over rocks, and generally moving like someone trying to navigate in complete darkness. The crew initially thought this was a major problem they'd need to fix in post-production or by redesigning the costume entirely. Instead, they realized Chapman's blind stumbles made the creature look genuinely alien and menacing in ways they never could have planned. It's wild to think that the most terrifying part of the creature's presence was literally just a guy trying not to fall over. Does knowing that ruin the illusion for you? Or does it make the performance even better? His uncertain, lurching movements suggested something that didn't quite understand the human world it had wandered into, something that belonged in a completely different environment. Number 10. The creature suit's incredible weight accidentally created another signature element that defined the monster's entire screen presence. The costume weighed around 40 pounds and was incredibly restrictive in every possible way. Chapman couldn't move his arms naturally, couldn't turn his head properly, and definitely couldn't walk like a normal person. The thick rubber was completely inflexible, forcing him into this stiff, deliberate gait that looked nothing like human movement patterns. Universal's costume department initially considered this a complete design failure. They'd wanted the suit to allow more natural, fluid motion that would make the creature seem more believably alive. But that accidental stiffness became the creature's most recognizable trademark walk. Every step looked predatory and purposeful, like something that had evolved completely separately from human beings over millions of years. Can you think of another iconic movie monster, like maybe Darth Vader or Frankenstein's monster, whose walk was defined by a costume that was hard to move in? Number 11, Universal's location choice solved a crucial technical problem while creating completely unexpected cinematic magic. They needed crystal clear water for their 3D cameras to work properly and capture the underwater sequences effectively. The 3D process relies on stereoscopic vision, two separate lenses capturing slightly different perspectives to create depth. Murky studio tanks or typical lake water would have ruined the underwater photography completely, making everything look fake and unconvincing. Any particulates or cloudiness in the water would scatter the light unevenly, leading to a blurry, disjointed 3D effect that would actually strain the audience's eyes rather than immerse them. So they shipped the entire production to Wakulla Springs in Florida, one of the clearest natural springs in North America, where you can see straight to the bottom even at 30 feet deep. This spring is known for its incredible natural clarity and the way sunlight pierces the water, creating sharp, intense beams. This location wasn't chosen for its beauty or convenience. It was pure technical necessity for the specialized 3D equipment. The sheer logistical effort of moving a full Hollywood crew, including the heavy 3D cameras and lighting rigs, to a remote natural location was immense, but it was the only way to deliver the visual quality the director demanded. But Wakulla Springs gave the film something no studio could have replicated with artificial sets. The spring floor was covered in natural aquatic plants and ancient submerged logs, giving the creature a rich, textured, and truly alien environment to stalk through. The natural light patterns constantly shifted, giving the underwater scenes a life and dynamism that studio lights could never match. The underwater shots have this ethereal, dreamlike quality because the water clarity is almost supernatural. This unexpected, beautiful backdrop made the creature's presence even more unsettling. It was a beast lurking in a paradise. Number 12. Those breathtaking underwater sequences where the creature seems to live and breathe beneath the surface indefinitely. Pure movie magic built on elaborate deception that audiences never suspected. Rico Browning was an incredible swimmer, but even he couldn't hold his breath for the extended takes the film needed to create those haunting underwater stalking scenes. The complex choreography required to stalk the actors, often in heavy costume, made long single takes impossible, so the crew developed a sophisticated system of hidden air supplies throughout Wakulla Springs. They ran thin air hoses along the bottom of the lagoon, carefully camouflaged against rocks and aquatic plants where cameras couldn't detect them. These hoses weren't just for breathing. They were strategically placed breathing stations. Browning would swim to one of these hidden spots, quickly take a breath, and then resume the terrifying, graceful chase before the audience could ever notice the pause. This painstaking effort to hide the logistics is a major reason why the creature from the Black Lagoon's underwater photography remains so iconic and unsettling today. Number 13. Here's something that still drives sound engineers absolutely crazy today. Nobody knows exactly how they created the creature's distinctive, otherworldly roar that became so iconic. The original sound design notes were lost decades ago, and the engineers who worked on it took their creative secrets to the grave without documenting their process. We know they experimented with everything from elephant calls pitched way down to alligator grunts run through primitive electronic filters. Some film historians claim they mixed growling dogs with creaking metal sounds and industrial noise. Others insist human vocals were heavily distorted and layered with mechanical effects and underwater recording techniques. The sound team spent weeks in the studio combining animal noises, industrial sounds, and electronic manipulation until they discovered something that sounded genuinely otherworldly. Modern sound designers have tried desperately to recreate those eerie underwater calls using contemporary technology, but nobody's managed to match the original's haunting quality exactly. Number 14. Universal didn't realize it at the time, but they were creating the final chapter of their legendary monster cycle that had defined horror cinema for over 2 decades. Creature from the Black Lagoon holds the distinction of being the last great monster of the classic Universal horror era. Think about that incredible lineup: Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and finally, the Gill-Men. After 1954, Universal's monster movies devolved into campy sequels and parodies that never captured the original magic. The creature represented both a culmination and a farewell, the perfect ending to a cinematic legacy that had shaped how audiences understood movie monsters. Number 15. That romantic subtext created a template that influenced creature features for decades afterward. A young filmmaker named Steven Spielberg studied this film obsessively before making Jaws, learning Arnold's crucial lesson about restraint and suggestion over explicit horror. The creature's most effective moments weren't when it was fully visible terrorizing people, but when audiences caught brief glimpses of it moving through dark water, or saw just a clawed hand reaching from the depths. Spielberg applied this exact same principle to his mechanical shark, keeping it hidden for most of the film and letting viewers' imaginations create the real terror. Both directors understood that what you don't show is often more frightening than what you reveal. The creature's influence on Jaws helped establish the modern template for monster movies. Build fear through anticipation and atmosphere, then deliver the payoff when audiences least expect it. This restraint became the foundation for every successful creature feature that followed. These techniques didn't just create a successful monster movie, they established principles that continue influencing modern filmmakers who want to create genuinely memorable creatures. Guillermo del Toro openly credits the Gill-Men as inspiration for The Shape of Water, essentially creating a love letter to Arnold's original vision. The underwater cinematography techniques pioneered at Wakula Springs became the standard for how movies approach submerged scenes. Even contemporary blockbusters like Aquaman and Life of Pi use lighting and camera positioning principles that this crew developed 70 years ago. The romantic undertones between monster and human became essential elements in everything from King Kong remakes to modern vampire films. The idea that practical effects can create more believable creatures than computer graphics has experienced a massive resurgence, with directors like Christopher Nolan and the Mad Max team choosing rubber suits and real stunts over digital alternatives. Maybe most importantly, the film proved that technical limitations can force creative solutions that make the final product better, not worse. Every accident became an advantage. Every problem became an opportunity for innovation. These 15 accidents and secrets created a monster that outlasted every other creature from its era. Next time you watch any creature feature, you'll spot these techniques everywhere. The romantic undertones, the practical magic, the power of showing less to suggest more. Drop a comment below with your favorite memory from back in the day, and let us know if we missed any of your favorite unscripted moments or which movie we should cover next.